It was a quiet evening, one of those nights when the air felt still and the world seemed to slow down. Lily stood by the kitchen counter, washing the last of the dishes. Her husband, Mark, was outside on the porch talking on the phone. He said it was a quick work call. He'd been taking a lot of those lately. She could hear the faint sound of his voice through the window, low, calm, almost soft. He never sounded that gentle when he talked about work. A few minutes later, she heard the sliding door open. Mark stepped in with his usual smile. "Long day?" she asked. "Yeah," he sighed, kissing her forehead. "Just business stuff, you know how it is." He grabbed his tea and went upstairs to take a shower. Lily sighed and started tidying up the table. That's when she noticed his phone left face down beside the tea mug. It buzzed once, then again. She picked it up without thinking, ready to hand it to him, but before she could, the screen lit up. It wasn't a call, it was still ongoing. A live phone call, 11 minutes and counting. Her heart skipped. She raised it to her ear. For a moment, she heard nothing, just soft static. Then, laughter. A woman's laughter. And then, Mark's voice. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." Lily froze. Those were her words, the ones he'd said to her on their wedding day. Her hands began to shake. The woman's voice whispered softly, "I miss you already." Mark chuckled. "I miss you more, baby." The sound of his voice saying, "baby," that word he hadn't used for her in months, hit her like a knife. Then the line went silent. The call had ended. Lily stood there in the kitchen, her body numb. The clock ticked in the background, steady, cruel. She placed the phone down carefully on the counter, afraid that if she dropped it, she'd fall apart too. When Mark came back down, towel around his neck, she forced a small smile. "Hey," he said casually, "you okay?" "Yeah," she whispered, "just tired." Her voice trembled, but he didn't notice. He kissed her cheek again and walked away, humming, and that's when she realized he wasn't hiding it because he was careful. He was hiding it because he thought she'd never look. That night she lay beside him, staring at the ceiling. He fell asleep easily, breathing slow, calm, peaceful, like a man who had no guilt. Lily turned to face him. She studied his face, his hand resting near hers, his wedding ring catching the faint light. She remembered the day he slipped it on her finger and promised, "Forever." Forever, she thought bitterly, didn't even last 5 years. The next morning she woke up early. Mark was still asleep. She unlocked his phone, the same password he'd used for everything. It was all there, messages, calls, pictures. Her heart cracked a little more with every scroll. The contact name was simple but sharp. Mia. Dozens of texts. "I miss your touch. Last night was perfect. I wish I was waking up next to you instead." Her hands went cold. She didn't cry, not yet. Instead, she typed a single message to the same chat. "She knows." She hit send, locked the phone, and placed it gently on his pillow. Then she went downstairs, packed a small bag, and walked out the door. Mark woke up to sunlight and silence. He reached for his phone, yawning, still half asleep. When he saw the last message, his heart stopped. She knows. He jumped up, running downstairs. "Lily?" The house was empty. Her clothes were gone, her car missing from the driveway. On the dining table, beside the cold tea mug, lay her wedding ring. He stood there in disbelief, the reality sinking in. She hadn't yelled, she hadn't begged, she hadn't cried, she just left. Lily drove with no destination in mind. The wind rushed past her, blurring her tears. She pulled over near the old lake they used to visit together, back when love still felt real. She sat there for a long time, staring at her reflection in the water. A stranger stared back. "You used to smile for him," she whispered to herself. "Now, you smile for you." She took off her wedding ring, looked at it one last time, and let it slip from her fingers into the lake. It disappeared beneath the ripples, like the version of her who kept believing his lies. Sometimes you don't need to confront a liar, you just need to walk away with your silence. If you caught your partner saying, "I love you" to someone else, would you forgive them or let silence be your answer?